What's up, guys? Ian here, coach of your Ladner Lanturn, bringing you guys our Week 1 team builder, taking on the New York Mews and Mike, Pokemaster Mike, in the WPL Season 8. This is our inaugural match into the WPL. Let's run through his team. So he's got a Z-User in Heatran, Tapu Fini, Snorlax, Mienshao, Super Z-User in Cofagrigus, Barbaracle, Mega Alakazam, Scizor, Gliscor, Rotom-Mow, and Kyurem, which is his Z-User. Funnily enough, he drafted right after us in the draft, so we were 15th and he was 16th. And yeah, so this is how it played out. He's got priority users in Mienshao with Fake Out, the Scizor with Bullet Punch, and Rotom-Mow with Sucker Punch. Hazard setting in Heatran with Rocks, Cofagrigus with T-Spikes, Gliscor with Rocks. I think Barbaracle gets Rocks as well. I totally forgot to put that on there. Removal options in Fini with Defog, the Scizor with Defog, Gliscor with Defog, Rotom-Mow with Defog, so no spinners. And, you know, very limited hazard setting of his own. 4 times weaknesses in Heatran to Ground, Barbaracle to Grass, Scizor to Fire, and Gliscor to Ice. In terms of what I think he's going to bring, I don't really know. There's about 9, is that 8 or 9? 8 things I think that are most likely to come. I think that Mienshao, Tapu Fini, and Barbaracle are kind of the least likely things to come. Tapu Fini, because Zapdos, Mega Beedrill picks on it very easily, and Lurantis just gets to set up for free on it. I think he's kind of hesitant away from that sort of thing. You know, Lurantis doesn't look that solid against him, but Lurantis definitely threatens the Tapu Fini and the Barbaracle in prep, especially Lurantis against the Barbaracle, because even at +2, he can't two-shot me without a Z move, and it's not a Z user, so, you know, there's only so many places you can go with there. Barbaracle as well, I think he's got to be scared of things like Scarf Chomp, putting in a lot of work against it. You've always got to be scared of the Zapdos, and he's got to be worried about hitting a Stone Edge against it. Granted, you wouldn't not bring it for that. I just think Barbaracle kind of gets hard-walled by things like Registeel, and that's kind of an issue for him. And again, the Lurantis, as well as Beware. Beware kind of hard-walls the Barbaracle, knowing that it doesn't have a Z move. Mienshao is an easy way to break through Registeel. It doesn't do much besides that, honestly. Like, Mienshao is kind of bad against my team. Mimikyu switches into it, which is weird because Mimikyu doesn't really switch into anything. You know, Primarina switches into it of all things. Primarina, again, doesn't switch into anything. Mienshao can kind of deal with Lycanroc Dusk, kind of. It's basically his only Lycanroc Dusk switch-in. Everything else, it's his only Rock Resist. Everything else takes Rock neutrally or super effectively, so it might show up if he's really scared of Lycanroc Dusk. I don't know about that. I think, you know, if you've got Scizor there ready to revenge the Lycanroc always, then you can always go with that. Gliscor switches into Lycanroc Dusk pretty freely, even though it takes neutral hits. It still appreciates them. Physically defensive Gliscor, I think, is the most likely to come against my team anyways, just because of how physically biased it is. And then Tapu Fini, I have a problem believing that Tapu Fini is going to come against Lurantis, Mega Beedrill, Zapdos. It just seems very weird to me that he would try and do that. Like, it doesn't do much besides haze my setup mons, and it just seems weird. Like, Tapu Fini just doesn't fit onto the team that I predict him to bring. I think, like, Snorlax, Scizor, Gliscor, Rotom-Mow, Mega Alakazam, Cofagrigus, maybe? Maybe? I think Megazam has to come for sure. I think Gliscor is coming 100%, which is a problem because it's a big issue, and I would be so happy if Gliscor doesn't come. Kyurem is I'm kind of iffy on. Same with Heatran. I'm kind of iffy on Heatran as well. There's a few sets on Heatran that I could definitely see coming, and unfortunately for him, he can only bring one of them because I see at least 3 that have good matchups against my team. Yeah, I'm not going to get too in-depth with that because, you know, we may end up playing later in the season. Playoffs. Potentially. I don't know. It's only week 1, right? But don't want to give too much away there. So in terms of what I'm bringing, let's start with Primarina here. Yeah, so combo of Water plus Fairy absolutely demolishes him. His Fairy resists are Scizor, and that's it. And Scizor doesn't really appreciate Scald, like, ever. And his Water resists are the Tapu Fini, the Kyurem, and the Rotom-Mow, none of which really appreciate Moonblast. I've got the HP Fire on there for the Scizor just in case, but I doubt I'll click it. I had Aqua Jet on there as well, but I thought HP Fire is just a little bit more reliable. I have Ice Beam on there as well to hit the Gliscor. Actually, I'm going to take off HP Fire and put an Energy Ball, because it's a little bit more reliable against the Barbarical. So I've got Ice Beam there to one-shot the Gliscor if necessary. You know, who knows what the Gliscor set could be, but if I really need to take advantage of the 4x weakness, I will. Granted, Scald is going to do... Scald will be doing slightly less than Ice Beam will. Slightly less. And if I just need that, maybe. Or if I need it to kill the Rotom-Mow in a sticky situation, who knows. I'm running a little bit of speed on here. I'm running enough speed to outrun no speed Heatran. So 0 speed Rotom-Mow will still outspeed me, which obviously makes that a threat. But I didn't want to invest too much into speed, because then it just feels like I'm a speedy threat. And I don't want to be a speedy threat necessarily. I still want to have that special bulk, so I can at least eat a hit from Megazam and blow it back. Yeah, that's pretty much the idea with Primarina. There's really no downside to Primarina this week, just because it kind of clicks buttons and gets kills, and he's gonna find it very difficult to switch into this thing. I think it just breaks through his walls, which he seems to have a lot of. Granted, Snorlax is an issue, but only if it's a rest set. As long as I can burn it with the Scald, then it's okay. Yeah, so that's what the speed's on there for, and obviously I'm just running max special attack, get that extra power out of it. Garchomp, this is my dedicated lead. Solid rocker. It was the better rocker out of my 3 rockers this week. I really didn't, Registeel is just way too passive against this team, and it kind of just gets trapped by Heatran and dies, was my thought. Or Scizor, it's free setup for Scizor if he runs an SD set, free setup for the Gliscor if he runs an SD set. So Registeel was just way too passive this week. It doesn't get phasing to beat the Snorlax, otherwise it would have been my way to beat the Snorlax. I do think he's going to have to tech on Earthquake on the Snorlax, so he's going to have to run at least 2 attacking moves. Earthquake and Normal Stab. If he brings Snorlax, that's what he's going to have to bring. Banded Lax might be his play. Who knows? If he brings Banded Lax, I'm in a really bad spot, but there you go. Yeah, so I brought a Lumberry set. This is just so I can avoid like Will-O-Wisp from the Heatran turn 1 or something like that. It could be completely irrelevant given Garchomp is in Misty Terrain the entire time. Also, Dragon Claw is going to be weakened by the Misty Terrain, so there's only so much I can do with the Garchomp this week, but I really did think that it was more of a supportive set. So get the rocks up, and then I've always got the secondary option of being offensive with the SD Earthquake Dragon Claw. Dual Stab just tears through his team, and yeah, so that was kind of the idea behind the Garchomp. I needed something to hit the Gliscor, otherwise it just came in for free. I'm outrunning all of his base 95 Mons, which are Gliscor and Kyurem, so I'm outrunning both of those, max speed both of those with this Garchomp set. And again, I'm getting up rocks pretty much for free. His removal options force him to get rid of rocks on his own side. And granted, the chip isn't all that necessary against his team. It's very useful against a lot of it. Mons like Gliscor taking 12% on entry, Scizor taking 12%, Finny taking 12%, Kyurem taking 25%. All very useful chip that may end up mattering in the late game, especially on Mons that don't get recovery, like Tapu Fini. He'd have to run Z-Haze. It's not a Z user, so he can't use Z-Haze Tapu Fini. Zapdos is next, bringing a static set with Heat Wave, Defog, Roost, and Discharge. I originally had HP Ice on this, and then I changed it out for Defog, and the only reason I'm scared is because T-Spikes wear my team down quite a bit, and I think he might bring the Pythagoras with T-Spikes. So I needed a removal option, and this was actually the only one that I put on the roster, because Beedrill and Lurantis are not coming this week. So that was my thought behind the Zapdos having Defog. I need Roost for recovery. Need it, absolutely necessary. So I was Roost 3 attacks before, but now I'm Roost with Defog. Very bulky but fast, so the idea is that I'm a physical switch in. This is my main answer to the Scizor. And the Mienshao potentially, although if he's got Stone Edge, then I'm in a really bad spot. But if he has Stone Edge, I can switch into the Garchomp on it. It really has to be Scarfed against my team. There's kind of no way that he can get away with another one. I don't think, at least, especially because there's such a huge speed gap between the Mienshao and the Mega Alakazam that I think he has to be Scarfed, anticipating me to Scarf something to outrun Megazam. That's sort of the idea with that. Yeah, so Zapdos can take on both of those physical threats very well. It's my primary answer to Snorlax, although I don't know how well that's going to go. Paralyzing shit is basically what I'm known for. Heat Wave deals with the Rotom-Mow. If I can get a Heat Wave burn on the Gliscor, I would feel like a lord, an absolute lord. I don't really care about anything else. And granted, I am playing against the Tapu Fini team, so maybe I should be Thunderbolt, but I also don't think Tapu Fini's got that great of a matchup. So that's sort of what I'm playing with here on the Zapdos. Again, enough speed on Zapdos, same as the Garchomp, outrunning Gliscor and Kyurem. and then max HP, a little bit of a special attack investment there. Reuniclus, I'm running an AV Regenerator Reuniclus set with Shadow Ball, Psyshock, HP Fire, Focus Blast. HP Fire obviously there for the Scizor. Focus Blast is there to hit the Heatran and the Snorlax, although Psyshock's going to hit the Snorlax pretty well unless it's a curse set. Psyshock hits the Tapu Fini decently, it hits the Kyurem decently, it can hit the Gliscor decently-ish. It's my best way to hit the Rotom-Mow, it's going to OHKO the Mienshao, so there's a lot of good stuff going on with Psyshock over Psychic. I truly felt that it was necessary to run Psyshock over Psychic just to deal with the Snorlax, but I could eat my words and he'd be Curselax, and then Psychic would absolutely be better, because even if he is a, especially bulky Curselax, Psychic gets the Spidef drops, and all of a sudden he can't stay in against me. So that's the idea with that. I absolutely chew hits from Megazam. He cannot run Modest against me, which lets me chew hits, and that's what I like. Shadow Ball is like a 3-shot against me, and my Shadow Ball is 2-shotting him, so I can switch in, switch out, switch in, and then blow through the Megazam. This is my secondary answer to the Kyurem, primary answer to the Tapu Fini if he's offensive Tapu Fini, primary answer to the Rotom-Mow if he's offensive Rotom-Mow. It soaks special hits for days. Absolutely soaks them. And I can still switch into Mienshao if he's running a Scarf set and locks himself into a fighting move. Granted, I would also probably lock into Mimikyu there. I can't scout if he's going to be Scarf because I'm not bringing anything faster than Mienshao. So I don't know. I guess I'll have to make reads. Or judge based on the damage. It would make a lot more sense, and see if he's Life Orb or Banned. Because at that point, Scarf makes the most sense. But yeah, so that's Reuniclus, filling a much more supportive role this week. I felt like it could have got a Calm Mind set off against this team this week. But mons like Scizor were a little bit too threatening for me, especially because Scizor kind of just like blows me back with any Bug-type move. And Gliscor can kind of stall break through that Reuniclus set with Taunt. Kind of shuts it down hardcore, so I didn't really want to go that route necessarily, although it is very effective. I'll give it that. It's an extremely effective set against his team. The only problems being his Taunt users in the Mienshao, the Fini, and the Gliscor. And I think he's got to run Taunt on at least one of them. Actually, I think Megazam gets Taunt too. So Taunt on at least one of those 4. Heatran gets it 5, I guess. So, I don't know. There's a ton of Taunters. He's got to run it for Calm Mind Reuniclus. Mimikyu's next. Mimikyu is my late game cleaner. Shadow Sneak, Sword Stance, Drain Punch, Shadow Claw. Just mono Ghost and a fighting coverage move here. Fairy, while I said it works really well with the Primarina, that's because it's got the water to cover it. Against this team, it's realistically, I'm never going to click Play Rough ever, except against maybe Mienshao, but I'd much rather click Shadow Sneak as long as it's weakened. There's really no reason for me not to just click either Shadow Claw or Drain Punch or Shadow Sneak against other things. Given the Mega Alakazam has very little bulk, at +2 I will OHKO it with Shadow Sneak, so that's solid. I love that factoid. And then Ghost UMZ Shadow Claw is kind of just a massive nuke against anything. The main idea is that I can nuke the Cofagrigus without losing my Disguise. That's the idea, at least. I don't know if that's necessarily going to come into play in practice, but that's the idea. Potentially, I get to Ghost UMZ it so that it either A, doesn't Will-O-Wisp me, B, doesn't Shadow Ball me to break my Disguise, and then I get to SD on something else coming in to break my Disguise, or I get 2 attacks off on the Scizor, which goes for Bullet Punch to break my Disguise, etc., etc. Drain Punch is there for the Snorlax, which otherwise would hard wall a mono Ghost set, and I can also Drain Punch on the Barbaracle and the Kyurem and the Heatran for big boy damage. Enough speed on here again for the Kyurem and the Gliscor. Very common speed creep this week was the 95s, because he doesn't have a base 100, so there you go. That's the Mimikyu boy there, and then Dallas the Dugong making its debut right off the bat. I really was not expecting Dugong to come this early, but it is an amazing Specs Kyurem check, and I do potentially see Specs Kyurem coming, right? Or Scarf Kyurem even. Scarf Kyurem can definitely, revenge kill something like SD Chomp. I don't have the best Ice Switch-ins. My Ice Switch-ins don't have recovery. Examples, Primarina and Registeel, besides Dugong. So Dugong is here. It doesn't get recovery either, but Dugong's main job is to come in on the Kyurem. And honestly, even if he switches, I get to Perish Trap something, and that's kind of the best part about this set. I have the Citrus Berry to get my HP up as well. I basically tank any hit. I'm EV'd specifically to live something, and I can't remember what it is. I think it might be Tapu Fini, like 4-shotting me or 5-shotting me with Moonblast. I can't remember off the top of my... Oh, no, I don't know. I know what it is. I'm EV'd to live 3 frustrations from Snorlax. So this is also my secondary Snorlax answer. As long as he's not boosted, I can, or not banded, I can trap it and sort of get rid of it, and that'd be great. Toxic's not great here either, just because it's, Tapu Fini team and all, but I can, trap a bunch of stuff. Then I've got Ice Beam there as well for the Gliscor, so I'm running double ice. In a pinch, I can deal with the Gliscor as well. Depending on his investment, if he's just max HP, this is a roll to kill him with Ice Beam, I believe, because it's stab, so I can go that route. And I do believe that he has to be physically defensive against my team. I can't imagine that he's going to be specially defensive. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me why you'd be specially defensive Gliscor against my team, because Primarina is going to one-shot you anyways, and you probably don't think the Dugong is a threat. So that's just sort of my thoughts there with the Dugong. Weird the Dugong's making its debut, but there you go. So in terms of what didn't come, I already sort of talked about a lot of these, but Lycanroc Dusk, again, I just didn't feel like it had the killing power this week, even though he's got 1 rock resist on the entire roster in Mienshao. Registeel was way too passive for his setup mons, and I'm just not going to risk that. Mega Beedrill doesn't outspeed the Mega Alakazam, obviously, which was kind of a big problem, and I also think he's going to waste a lot of Scarfers on it. Or at least Scarf Mienshao with Rock Slide. At the very least, Scarf Mienshao with Rock Slide. This team is not very weak to Bug or Poison, and so I just really felt like it wasn't worth my while to bring Beedrill just as momentum. It didn't feel right to me. It really didn't feel right to me, and I do think he's going to be Shuka Heatran. I think that's the most likely set against me is Shuka Heatran. So I was pretty worried about bringing Mega Beedrill this game. It's not a bad bring by any means, I just don't like it very much, especially when Kofag can take away my adaptability too. That really hurts the overall strength of using Mega Beedrill in the first place. Beware gets absolutely destroyed by Mega Zam. I get blown back by the Mienshao. I mean, I live hits, right? But, Heatran deals with it, Tapu Fini deals with it, Kyurem deals with it. There was way too much to deal with Beware, so it's not coming. And then Lurantis, I did feel could have had a solid matchup, but the Scizor and the Heatran scared me with Lurantis, so I ended up not bringing it. So that is the full team. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I will catch you guys for a Week 1 WPL match against Pokemaster Mike and the New York Mews.